Forever Chemicals, PFSA, Dupont Parkersburg, Dark Waters. The Part 6 video comes from Chapter 6 of Marko Vovk's book. In 1951, DuPont began using PFOA to manufacture Teflon at its Washington Works plant near Parkersburg, West Virginia. This decision marked the beginning of a decades-long environmental disaster. In 1951, DuPont began using PFOA to manufacture Teflon at its Washington Works plant near Parkersburg, West Virginia. This decision marked the beginning of a decades-long environmental disaster. By 1961, DuPont learned it was toxic but continued using it, keeping this information hidden from the public. In 1979, a DuPont survey found possible evidence of liver damage in Teflon plant employees, raising internal concerns. These early warning signs went unheeded as production continued. The 1980s brought more evidence of PFOA's dangers. In 1981, 3M and DuPont reassigned female workers after animal studies revealed that PFAS damages fetal eyes. This demonstrates early knowledge of reproductive risks. By 1984, DuPont detected PFAS in tap water in Little Hocking, Ohio, but didn't alert the local water utility. This began a pattern of concealment that would last for a year. In the 1990s, DuPont's contamination escalated. From 1990 to 1996, the company dumped 7,100 tons of PFOA-laced sludge into unlined digestion ponds on the Washington Works property. They also created the dry run landfill for hazardous PFOA disposal. In 1993, West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection inspectors found excessive amounts of sediment and discoloration in the dry run landfill property ponds. DuPont responded by draining contaminated leachate into Dry Run Creek. The consequences of DuPont's actions became apparent in October 1996. Wilbur Tennant, a farmer near Parkersburg, noticed his cows becoming sick and dying. Dry Run Creek, which runs through his 700-acre farm, turned black, foamed up, and smelled foul. This marked the beginning of public awareness of the contamination. In 1997, a DuPont study found heightened cancer rates among Parkersburg plant workers, further indicating health risks. The legal battle began in 1998 when Tennant hired lawyer Robert Bilott to investigate the cause of his cattle's deaths. In 1999, Bilott discovered DuPont's internal documents revealing massive PFOA emissions from the Washington Works plant. These documents show 24,000 pounds of annual air emissions and 55,000 pounds of water emissions. This discovery sets the stage for a protracted legal fight. The new millennium saw the first legal actions against DuPont. In 2000, Bilott filed a lawsuit against DuPont on behalf of Tennant, which settled for an undisclosed amount. In 2001, Bilott filed a class action lawsuit representing 70,000 people in 6 water districts near Parkersburg, Lubeck, Little Hocking, Belpre, Tuppers Plains, Mason County, and Pomeroy. The lawsuit brought national attention to the issue. In 2004, the EPA sued DuPont for failing to report PFOA risks. Tests showed that Parkersburg residents had PFOA levels up to 128 parts per billion, far above the U.S. average of 5 parts per billion. This revelation shocked the community and intensified the legal battle. In 2005, DuPont settled with the EPA for $16.5 million, agreeing to remediate drinking water with PFOA levels exceeding 0.4 parts per billion. The EPA uses this money for PFOA research and to fund residents' blood tests. The late 2000s and early 2010s brought increased scrutiny and regulation. In 2009, the EPA established a provisional health advisory level for PFOA at 0.4 parts per billion in drinking water. In 2012, the C8 Science Panel, funded by the Class Action Settlement, found probable links between PFOA exposure and 6 diseases. These diseases include kidney cancer, testicular cancer, ulcerative colitis, thyroid disease, pregnancy, induced hypertension, and high cholesterol. This scientific evidence strengthens the case against DuPont. In 2015, DuPont attempted to shield itself from liability by spinning off its Teflon division into Chemours. This move was criticized as an attempt to protect assets from legal claims. In 2016, the EPA lowered its health advisory level for PFOA to 0.07 parts per billion, reflecting growing concerns about the chemical's toxicity. These actions increased pressure on DuPont to address the contamination. The legal consequences for DuPont began to mount in 2017. DuPont and Chemours paid $670.7 million to settle 3,550 personal injury lawsuits. The money was divided among the plaintiffs based on disease type and severity. This settlement marks a significant victory for the affected communities. In 2019, the film Dark Waters dramatized the story, increasing public awareness of the PFAS contamination issue. The 2020s bring further settlements and attempts at remediation. In 2023, Ohio secured a $110 million settlement with DuPont for environmental restoration along the Ohio River. The funds will be used for water quality monitoring, habitat restoration, and public education programs. In 2024, a federal judge approved a $1.19 billion settlement for water contamination claims against DuPont and related companies. This brings the total payout to over $2 billion. The Parkersburg PFAS contamination saga reveals a decades-long struggle for justice. DuPont repeatedly concealed information and contaminated the local environment, prioritizing profits over public health. The total payout represents less than the full scope of the long-term impact on the community. This ends part 6 of the video series from Marko Vovk's book, Forever Chemicals: How PFSA Pollutes Our Blood and Lives. Please watch the other videos from this series on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell for future new videos. Below are links to books.